Okay, so I'm doing two oil filter teardowns, and these ones just came out of the boxes that I had stored them away after the oil changes. And this is the second oil change with Restore and Protect by Valvoline, and this one is the original filter that I had in there using castroloil 020 Euro. And I'm going to tear them down. I'm going to cut them open, have a look at the pleats. I just wanted to show quickly the two filters, how they're constructed, and one anomaly that I noticed right away when it comes to taking them apart. Now, before I cut them open, I had a look at the pleats here. I don't know if you guys can see it. I guess these things are under an awful lot of pressure because the pleats are sort of creased in places. That's the FRAM XG. Let's see, which one is it there? XG 175. Not much to say about it yet. Oil doesn't look super dark, but before I had this filter changed, before I did my oil service, I had run a can of tune-up in a can for about, I don't know, 20 or 30 kilometers. I put it in just before I did my oil service, and maybe that's why the oil looks a little lighter than it usually does. I don't know, but that was just I put it's about 1 quart of tune-up, come out tune-up in a can with the PEA additive, and that's proven to clean. That's been, proven to clean up any deposits. I tried that because my car is burning some oil, and it's a substantial amount. Like the BMW 228 from 2015 X Drive twin scroll turbo. My car burns about, and I've done some rough measurements with the odometer reset, or the trip timer reset, around 1,000 kilometers to 1,200 kilometers. It'll say min, and then if you drive it a little more, it'll say add a quart of oil. Engine oil is low by 1 quart. So it's consistently done that since I've owned the car for 2 or 3 years now. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it's blow by, maybe it's some kind of other anomaly in the turbos. I wanted to tackle cleaning the system the best I can before I have a look at the turbo system. Some say it could be the turbo wastegate, like I could be dumping or dumping oil into the turbos somehow through the wastegate. I'm not sure if that's possible, but that was someone had said that to me. The other idea that was maybe caused by ring packed by carbon, so I'm trying to make sure that I clean the best I can. And at this point, another suggestion was that the turbos seals might be bleeding oil, because it seems like I'm burning more oil if I drive more aggressively, like when I really hit it on the highway and the turbos kick in and spool up, and it almost seems like I'll burn more oil, and my tailpipe will soot. I got a sooty tailpipe, so I don't see any smoke on startup, but I do see a buildup of soot, black soot, on my tailpipe after I clean it. So it's kind of an indicator that oil is burning through the system. I'm not sure what else to check, but at this point the car runs fine. There's no check engine light. I've read the codes, I've read the sensors, everything's within bounds, and I don't know. Some people say it's normal for the N20 engines. I don't know if the N20 engines actually from brand new. Mine had 88,000 kilometers on it. Now it's 102, roughly 102,000. So when I first got the car, after 30 days, I noticed I had to put a quart of oil in it. And that's like kind of seems like a lot for 1,200 kilometers worth of driving. And I'm driving the highway every day, but our highway is always jammed up, so it's sort of stop and go. So it's hard to measure, like, but my consistent route is from work and back every day. It's a daily drive, and I'm not doing any racing. I'm not tracking it. I'm not, driving like excessively aggressive. Just, when you hit the on-ramp, I punch it a little bit, and that's about it, really. I don't really need any speeding tickets. So, but the one thing I wanted to get at with this filter, and this is the second change with the Restore and Protect by Valvoline, there's this threaded area. I don't know if you guys caught it, but right here, I don't know what the heck that is. If it's copper brass wire of some kind, or if it's just a hair. It looks like it's copper or brass wire. I don't know where the heck something like that would come from. I'm gonna have a look at it through the microscope. I don't know if it came out, if it was always there on the filter, or if it came out of when they did the oil change from the rag that they used to wipe it. When they take the filter out, they wipe inside the housing, clear out whatever's there. I don't know if it came in through there on the last oil change. It's almost like a hair. I don't think it's metal. I don't know yet. It does have a shine to it, so I'm gonna look at it closer under the microscope and have a more in-depth look at what it might be in terms of the material it is. I'm not sure exactly what in the heck that could be. But anyways, this is a Mobil 1 filter, this version, and of course the FRAM here. Like the FRAM feels like a more solid filter, though it doesn't have as many pleats. I don't know if that makes a difference in the filtration or whatnot. I know there's videos comparing oil filters, and they put them through all sorts of like really aggressive tests. So I'm gonna go look at those and see which ones actually are the best ones to use. I don't know. Before I started using Valvoline Restore and Protect, I was using the FRAM XG series, which is the ultra synthetic, like long life filter, and then Mobil 1 has their version, which is the extended performance. It says it's good to like 25,000 kilometers or 1 year, which I'll never run it that hard, but it is one of the premium filters available around here. So I'll come back, and after I take these apart, we'll have a look at the pleats. It'll be interesting to see if there's any carbon, like other people found like carbon deep down in there. Though Valvoline's white paper, or their marketing material for the oil, says that big deposits shouldn't exist because the oil formula is supposed to break them down so it doesn't clog the filter. And some people say, oh, you gotta, on your first run of this, don't wait. Use the product for about 1,000 kilometers or like 600 miles. Then then put in the second run of it. And Valvoline says it could take 4 or more oil changes before you actually see the full benefit of the product. That's how they word it in their instructions. So it'll be interesting. I'll cut them both open. I'll have a good look at the pleats. I have a microscope that's meant for electronics work. It can go pretty high magnitude of lens magnification. We'll see if it will be able to pick anything up. Because there's two stories to this. There's like, some people say, oh, you shouldn't see any buildup because the oil as it's working is dissolving the carbon, and even the big particles eventually get dissolved in that, if there is big particles in there. The other side is like, yeah, there's guys that are showing some particles, black carbon deposits inside the pleats. Well, after time, if there's enough of them, it will clog the filter up, and then it'll go into bypass mode. But some of these filters, I don't see how they bypass. Maybe I'm missing something, but in these kind of canister filters, I don't see how the thing's supposed to bypass, unless I'm missing something. I see no holes where there is a bypass in the metal canister types of oil filters for different vehicles. The European BMW N20s and all the ones I've owned other BMWs, they use a filter that goes in its own canister. Like, the canister is part of the car, and you buy this part, it goes inside that canister, and then you put the lid on, which is part of the car as well. So I don't know if this ever gets clogged up, and that's what I was worried about. I read so many stories about people saying, oh, you got to make sure that you do the first oil change with Restore and Protect sooner than any other one, because all the big chunks and all the worst materials will get jammed up in here, and it's better to do it earlier than later, just in case it does clog. So that's what I did. And I don't see a way, unless it's built into the housing and that's part of the vehicle's engine, that if this ever gets jammed up, like, where does the oil go? Like, all of a sudden there's a huge amount of pressure where nothing to go if it's that jammed up, right? Like how they say on the forums and on the chit chat all over the internet. So that was just an observation that I found. So anyways, I'll come back with another section of the video. I'm new to this. I don't make videos very often, and usually if I do, they're more electronics related, because I'm a technician, so I try to do and speak about things that I already have a basis of knowledge about. So we'll come back and see what these look like after I cut them open, and God knows how easy that's going to be. This one's a much more rigid design. It's got some kind of inside there, it's got some type of wire that I might have to cut through, but we'll come back and we'll start there. So I have the piece of whatever it is on top of the filter, the FRAM filter, just so I can get a good vantage point for the focal point of the microscope. Just bear with me here, because I don't have the camera attachment for my microscope. These were made in the 90s, and it was an optional thing. It's a scientific microscope, so you have to go and buy a special camera to actually show what you see through the stereoscope viewer. So this apparatus here, which adjusts to your eyes, and then the camera goes, it clamps onto there. So I don't know if I can take a picture properly through there. I do know if I am careful, I can show it through one of the monoculars, one of the two binoculars. So when I do it this way, let's see if I can try to keep a steady hand and not screw up too much. And it's so hard to zoom this so it's not, I won't be able to move it easily if I scoot this. Nope. Just a sec here. Sorry about this. It's tricky. So I need to be able to scoot. Whoops. Shit. This is really amateur, I know. I gotta get this focused, or the camera does not like going through these optics. I think it's non-metallic, because when I try to bend the thread, it doesn't bend well. And if I move this here, if I just slightly move it just up slightly, we're gonna get a different view over the white area. Just a sec. Oh shit. Sometimes it's really hard to dial this in. It's like, it looks almost see-through when I am looking through it, so I think it's a fiber. I think it's a non-metallic fiber. So we'll have a preliminary look at the pleats without cutting them open. I'll do both of them. I've set up the scope to almost the max res. Now, if I zoom too much, I only see one pleat, so I try to get at least 3 pleats into the picture. So I don't see much in there, at least on the top of the pleats, because you can't see in the voids very easily. So on the FRAM, this is the FRAM, I don't see hardly anything on the top of them. Nothing out of the ordinary. So I'll switch to the Restore and Protect filter next. So this is the Restore and Protect filter. right away I noticed the filter construction itself is definitely a little more hairy. And trust me, it looks much better when you use the actual binoculars than this. And if I had the right attachment, I could probably do a much better job. But for now, I'll try to do the best I can. But yeah, you see, like, there's no carbon on the top of the pleats. So here is the Valvoline Restore and Protect filter pleats. I got a better picture this time, in terms of like showing more pleats in the same image. Hard to see any deposits there, though I understand that they're probably, if there are any, it's deep inside the pleated area. And just to be fair, I'm gonna just have a look at a different section of the pleats on the FRAM XG series. Whoops, what the heck? Maybe there's a bit of carbon there. I would expect to see some. So at first glance, I look at this and it's not visually bad. I looked at the whole thing. I cut it open with a knife like this. It's the best knife I could find to open up the filter. So, have a look at this. It's very interesting. This is the FRAM XG series. And as I said, all I did is run castrol for about 2,000 kilometers and then a can of tune-up before I changed the oils to Valvoline Restore and Protect on the next oil service. This was the last time that I used Castrol Euro 020. And also to note, I had changed the valve cover and the PCV valve at this service too. So basically my PC valve is ruled out as a problem because it's brand new. The valve cover is brand new. So just food for thought there. So if we go back into the microscope, I've found a section inside the pleat where I can actually see some debris. And if we can try to focus this in a way, I do see some crud there. I don't know if any of it's metallic, but it certainly looks like it. Now, if I try to hold this If I can focus at the same time, that's the max zoom of my scope. So in order to keep it from going off kilter, the max position is very hard to get it just right. Let's see here. Okay. You can kind of see what's in there. There is some debris and there is some carbon. I'll just make an adjustment quickly. We'll move it to like another pleat. Just see if I can do this in real time so it doesn't cause too much editing for me. So I'll move just this pleat up. Just bear with me. I'll move this pleat to a different position, like way over here. We'll have a look at a different section. Whoops. Have a look at the back side maybe. Sorry about this. It's freaking hard to do both of these things at once. Oh. And hopefully my light sources are gonna be all right. I usually prepare the microscope in advance, but as you can see, it's very hard to detect anything without the aid of a microscope in there on the FRAM. We may see something in here. Just give me a minute and I'll zoom it back out. And I don't know how much of the pleat or the oil has been removed. You can kind of see this section of the pleat. There's only a couple areas that one would it would suggest that there's carbon there. Just small specks. So I'll move on to the Restore and Protect filter. Now this is the Valvoline Restore and Protect oil filter that went to about 650 kilometers before my first oil change with that product. And this is probably what you guys are waiting for. Visually, and it's the Mobil one. The other one was the FRAM XG series. The Mobil one's a little hairier and more pleated. However, I don't see anything at first glance. And then when we look through the microscope, I don't see nearly as much debris in there. I'm not sure why. Oops. See if I can zoom it up in real time here. Whoops. The more you zoom, the harder it is to keep the image. Maybe out of focus on my scope here, just a sec. I know this is frustrating. And I will, if I do this again, I'll make sure I get a proper camera. The particles, if there's any, must be, let me just focus this here. If there's any, they're extremely small. Right down there in that pleat. Deep down in the pleat. And I'll do another pleat, just give me a minute, and I'll just check another pleat. So here's another, it's the other side, and just a random pleat that I found. And I made it so I could zoom the most amount. This is the max that the scope is able to do. And I think it's over 100 times. Ooh, ooh. I don't know if this camera will focus that. I know it's focused in the monocular. I may have to bring it out a little bit. It's picking up a little bit of debris on the primary lens. Sorry about that. I know it's super annoying. Just let me back this out just 1 minute. I'll try to keep the film rolling here. There. Backed it out a bit, so. You see, there's very, very little in there. Very little. There's nothing wrong with this filter. In fact, I probably could have drove it to the first oil change, 5,000 kilometers or whatever, with no issues. So maybe my engine isn't as bad as they say. They say that this Valvoline Restore and Protect is supposed to fix oil consumption problems. And from what I can see, there's very little carbon. It probably is doing its job by dissolving the carbon particles, because the other filter looked dirtier. I don't see much in there. This is the Mobil one filter. You know, if you have a look at these sections too, the ones that I cut, they're almost identical. Like, there's hardly, there's nothing that sticks out to me to say, like, sure, maybe it's cleaning, but maybe the engine's already clean and I'm burning oil through a leak somewhere inside the turbos, like the turbo seals. Because it's extremely difficult to fix oil burning problems if you don't know if it's the ring lands that are all coked up with with carbon, which a lot of people on the forums say, you know, I ran 2 or 3 cycles of Restore and Protect, and I got no oil burning or very little oil burning now. Though when I did my first change, I was down about half a quart before 600 kilometers, which is in line with what I was burning before. 1,000 kilometers, I'd probably have to put in a quart or so, depending on how I drive. So I'm not, and they say, oh, it's going to take 1 or 2 or 3, up to 4 Restore and Protect oil changes. Let's have a look down the line here, maybe on the other side. I don't know if we'll see a little better image here as to what's going on. But my experience so far is that either Valvoline Restore and Protect is so good it's breaking up all the carbon. Maybe it's really good at breaking it up, and the filter is much more efficient now because the particles are smaller. I just don't know. I don't see anything like other people saw, like big chunks of carbon and stuff, and others are saying, oh, better change your oil out before, you know, 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers, because it'll gum up so bad that it'll destroy the oil circulation. So I was worried about that. That's why I did it so soon. But I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I'm wondering if there's a secondary issue. See, just one more peek at some of this. Let's see if I can spread it apart enough to have another go at it. And there's probably some down in there. I don't know if that blackness down there is actually carbon and it's just really fine. Maybe all the experts out there can tell me what I'm looking at, because I'm not. I have some automotive training. You know, my father was a mechanic for 30-some years, but I'm not an expert. I only go by the chatter on the forums. I try to weigh in what I'm seeing, and I don't know what to make of it. So I'll do the 4 Valvoline oil changes. I have to get this stuff from the States. I get it from Rock Auto, because I can't find Valvoline. The place I go, the oil changing place around here, they can't get it. And they told me you should be using Euro oil in a European car, which is right. It's rated to those extreme temperatures that European vehicles run at, in terms of the turbo and the oxidation ratings. They're what are recommended for the vehicle. So I wonder if there's a secondary issue somewhere, maybe in the turbo seals, because I've tried my best to, you know, clean the engine as much as I can. I don't know who owned it before. It came from a lease, a rental lease since it was born, and then, but it was all regular. All the schedules on Carfax are regular, and I thought, okay, it's probably that the cylinders are gummed up with something, and I'll be able to see it if I use this product. I haven't been able to see shit, so let's see if I can do one last final show on my microscope. Zoom it up a bit. Have a look at the pleated area that's just down below here. Some areas are totally void of any blackness, so I'm not inclined to believe that this engine has any excess carbon buildup. Once again. Yeah, seems all right. In that zone anyways. We're looking roughly like just into this area, I suppose it is. I'm fully zoomed on my iPhone now. I don't have the latest iPhone, but this camera is in 4K mode now. And if you can see that, we'll see anything crazy through any of these pleats. Actually, it looks pretty good in general, so I'll stop it there. I've done the best I can. I'm all full of grease now. This bench is used for reworking circuit boards. So it's the first time I've ever taken a really greasy, smelly, oil-filled apparatus apart here. And I'm glad I at least put something down to soak up all this oil, because it stinks now in here. But I'll leave it at that and let you guys like and subscribe. And, you know, I'll probably come up with another video after about a full OCI, which is probably 5,000 kilometers from now, which is typically what we do on these engines. The N20 BMW engine is recommended to around 5,000 kilometers. An oil change is done then, and new filters put in.